For those of you that don't know me, my name is Charity Livingston, and I'm the administrative coordinator and worship director here at New Ground Church. I am probably going to stick pretty close to my notes because I'm a little anxious and nervous. But I've been telling people this morning that your body responds the same whether you're nervous or excited. So we're just going to flip that nervousness and we're going to say that I'm excited. And I've asked Carol to pray for me this morning, so she's just going to stand right where she is and give a prayer, and then I will share with you. Amen. Thanks, Carol. Well, to all the moms watching and that are here in person, I'd like to say Happy Mother's Day. And I also want to say, you're a good mom. This is something that's been said to me by multiple people over the last couple months, and it's something that I've been saying to myself lately. So I just want to say it one more time. You are a good mom. If you were here with us last year on Mother's Day, you might remember me sharing my journey to motherhood through perseverance. Here's a quick recap of that. My husband and I tried for years to get pregnant, and after 7 years of struggling, God made it possible to meet and eventually adopt our two beautiful children. My journey to motherhood is a lot different than most. Even our adoption was unique. We didn't go through the foster care system, and we didn't even start with an adoption agency. It was through the faith of 3 mothers that I became a mother myself. So if you want to hear the full story of that, you can go on our website and look in, sermons or messages, and then you should be able to find that on there. So if you've been a part of New Ground for a while, you've heard of us talking about our values, which are on in infographics on the walls. And one of those values is authentic community. So I did you a favor and Googled authenticity to get an official definition. It said, authenticity is the quality of being genuine or real. Now on our website, it says authenticity allows you to come as you are, flaws and all. So isn't it nice that we don't have to be perfect? I can stand up here and stumble through this and it's okay. Our website adds, it also demands a willingness to be transformed. So we do this through deep relationship anchored in becoming more like Jesus as we live out the greatest commandment, which is to love God and love our neighbor. So throughout our adoption process, and since our adoption, I've had conversations with several of the moms here at New Ground. And a lot of it is me asking, is this behavior normal? To my delight, the answer is usually yes. We met our kids when they were 2 and turning 3, and they were struggling with neglect, abandonment, and trauma. So I'm constantly asking, is this normal? Because I don't know. And so I'm hoping that you other moms will tell me yes. So I'm a new mom that missed out on the first couple of years of my kid's life. I didn't get those baby snuggles, those bonding moments that moms get with your newborn, right? I'm still learning my kids every day. So I try to take advantage of every snuggle I can get. And I ask questions a lot. I ask my kids questions. I ask other moms questions. And as I've been having conversations with other moms here at New Ground, I hear underlying questions. What's the point of coming to church with small kids? What's the point? All I do is sit in the back and make sure my kids aren't being disruptive. What's the point? All I do is chase my kids around the foyer. What's the point of my kid going to class if all they're going to do is scream? Please know, I see you. You are a good mom, and you are being authentic. And in your authenticity, you're asking, what's the point? Now, dads, I see you too, just so you know, and you are a good dad. But today is not about you. You'll get your day. You'll get your day, okay? I'll throw that out there. So, in the last year, we've had many joys in our family, but the struggle for control has been real. With the kids officially being ours, we no longer had to ask permission from anyone about what we could or couldn't do. So the discipline was completely in our control. And as new parents, we may have gone a little too far, letting our kids kind of do whatever they wanted. But we can't be the only parents that do that, right? No? Okay, good. Feeling really good, thank you. We were definitely in that honeymoon phase, that phase where everything is happy and there's no fighting and everyone just is all lovey-dovey. Then the honeymoon phase was over and reality set in and we had to execute damage control. Control. We all want it. We never seem to have it, and our kids want it. In one of the many books we had to read during our adoption process, we learned that there are 3 things that kids have complete control over. And I have it written down, and I thought I would do a question and answer. Okay, so what do you think those things are? What they eat, whether they sleep. Nope. Close. Bathroom. So, what they eat, when they sleep, and when they go to the bathroom. So that kind of makes sense, right? Because we have those controls too. Those are basically the 3 things we have control over. No one can control that for us. So, when coming out of the honeymoon phase, we began to put boundaries in place for our kids. It went great. We also started putting boundaries in place for grandparents. So if you've ever tried to implement boundaries, you know it's hard. And we as new parents wanted to spend time with our kids. We wanted to bond with them. We wanted to create memories with them. Also realizing that our kids had a completely different life before we met them. So spending less time with the kids felt like a loss of control for the grandparents. Control. It's a dance. Knowing when to lead, when to follow, knowing what things are okay for your kids to have control of so they learn to make good choices, knowing that your kids are making bad choices and wanting to step in, but also wanting them to learn. In another book we read, we learned that letting your kids make choices is good. Teaching kids how to make good choices now will help them make good choices in the future. You might have heard me say to my kids at any given time, "You're not making good choices." Have you ever heard me say that? No, if you haven't, you probably will. Just throwing that out there. So how do you get your kids to make good choices? Well, by letting them make bad choices and dealing with those natural consequences of those choices. Now, I'm not talking like letting your kids, go outside and jump in the pond or, we're parents, we're responsible, right? I'm saying more like, if they are, well, let me get to that. A consequence. I'm getting ahead of myself. A consequence. I also Googled this for you, just so you're welcome. A result or effect of an action or condition. And a consequence isn't a bad thing, right? So if I'm driving and I need to turn left, I turn my steering wheel and I go left. Cause and effect. It's not a bad thing. So we've been potty training in our house. Anybody in that potty training phase? Anybody glad to be out of that potty training phase? Yes, okay. All right, just checking. Okay, so if you go to the bathroom in your pants, what happens? You have wet pants. So it's not a bad thing, right? It just is. It is what it is. You don't go to the bathroom. You have wet pants. Then that's your natural consequence. So it's just the reality of it. So I've known for 2 months or more that I was going to share today. So did I start my message early? I did in my head. So I'd be sleeping and the thoughts would come to me and I think, oh, that's so good. I'm going to write that down in the morning. I'm definitely going to remember that. And then I'd wake up and all those brilliant thoughts that I thought would be so wonderful to share with you today, they're gone. So about 2 weeks ago, reality came to me. It was a Friday night. It was the last Friday in April. And I got a phone call, and she said, well, the gal I was talking to said, well, next week is our field trip. And I was like, wait, next week's May 1st? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh. So May 1st was her field trip, but on May 2nd, Pastor Mike and his beautiful wife, Julia, left for vacation. And I thought, oh, I need to get this message done. That is not good. And you ever have those moments where that reality hits and you're like, oh, I should probably do that. So I waited one more week and I went to write down some thoughts, and my computer wasn't working and I was frustrated, and then we had to leave, and I thought, okay, well, I got a little bit down. I'll just finish on Thursday, right? Thursday rolled around and my childcare fell through, and I ended up with not one of my kiddos, but both of my kiddos with me. And I began to think, what's the point? But then I thought, okay, well, it'll have to wait till Friday. I've got some time on Friday, I can do that. But the consequences of my actions were starting to catch up with me. So Friday morning, I woke up and I realized all the thoughts that I had written down the week prior were not what the Lord was telling me to talk about. And I'm like, oh, it's not good. Song came, well, I mean, it is good, but song came on the radio, and I called Lauren. I dropped my daughter off at school, and I called Lauren, and I said, I think we're going to do a song at the end. Is it okay if I lead this song at the end? Because the Lord's taking me in a completely different direction. And he said, yeah, that's fine. So, but as I was thinking about, this new direction I was headed, this thought kind of snuck in my head, and I thought, does anybody really care about my struggles? Really? I mean, does it matter? What's the point? Let's just do an all music service and it'll be good. Let's just do that. And as these thoughts are kind of creeping in, I remember talking with my husband Ryan and asking him the same questions, like, does anybody care? And he said something that really resonated with me. He said that other moms and dads will care because they're going through similar struggles. So I thought, oh, okay. I'm like, then I can do this. I've got this. It's Friday. I got a couple days. So anyway, that brings me back to authentic community. I know it's not just me who's having a hard time getting my kids to make good choices. And I know I'm not the only one asking what's the point. So, what is the point? Teaching our kids that God matters to us is the point. And part of how we teach them that is to bring them to church with us every week. And as parents, we've been called to raise these small humans. And with that calling requires surrender. Surrendering our wants, surrendering our desires, and sometimes even surrendering our needs. Romans 12:2 says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. That's from the New King James Version. So one of the things that we were and still are very grateful for during our adoption process is our village, our family, our community group, and our church. Authentic community demands a willingness to be transformed. And how do we do that? We do that by the renewing of our minds. And how do we renew our minds? That is a great question, and that's something I think we should ask Pastor Mike when he gets back. I'm just kidding. Thank you for laughing. So we're going to take a look at Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. And it says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition for sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Excuse me. I was thinking this morning, we went through this adoption, and it was really hard, right? And I was thinking, did you ever take a minute and think, Mary bore Jesus, right? Joseph had nothing to do with that. He had absolutely nothing to do with that. But he married Mary and became Jesus' father. There was no money exchanged. There was no papers to sign. He adopted Jesus. And it just kind of hit me this morning while I was getting ready, like that's kind of a cool thing to think about. Being a parent is rewarding on many levels. It also comes with challenges. I don't know if you can relate to this, but sometimes I feel like my life is in chaos, and I know that my house is. How do we get rid of those things that are hindering us so we can run the race marked out for us? How do we find the peace in the chaos? That's easy. Fix your eyes on Jesus. But is it really that easy to fix your eyes on Jesus? Being a mom can be overwhelming. Everyone wants something from you. Your kids, your spouse, if you're married, if you are not married, your partner that helps you take care of your kids. Maybe it's somebody that you don't get along with. Everybody wants something from you. Even your house wants something from you because your house is not self-cleaning. You have to keep up on that. So, not to mention those that are part-time working moms, full-time working moms, then you can add to the list and you can add a boss and coworkers. It kind of just is a little bit draining to think about how everybody just wants something from you all the time. And it's hard to find time for yourself. So I'll ask again, how do we renew our minds? And I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to stop what we're doing and we need to breathe. And it sounds really silly because we automatically breathe. You're breathing right now. You're not even thinking about it, right? But we need to stop and become mindful of our breathing. There is a practice that I like to use. We've done it a few times here at New Ground. It's called the Daily Examine. And usually when we do the Daily Examine, I'll spend a few minutes walking you through that and really teaching that to you. Today, we're going to learn the 3-minute daily Examine. Ready? Yes? Let's do this. Okay, 3 minutes. So I'm going to check my watch. When I practiced, I could do it in 2. So we'll see how it goes today. All right, so step 1, and if you're more comfortable, you can close your eyes, but you can do it with your eyes open. It is entirely up to you. But step 1 is we're going to breathe. So when you breathe in, you're just going to silently pray, you are here. And you is God. You are here. So we breathe in. You are here, and we breathe out, and we pray, and I am with you. So, you are here, and I am with you. And you feel better already. Step 2 is to give thanks. So, it's almost 11 o'clock this morning, so think about all the things that happened this morning. So even the bad things, so good, bad, think of all those little things, and in the moment when you think of them, I want you to say, thank you, Jesus. When you think of those things, you can silently say, thank you, Jesus. Step 3 is reflect. So think about how you're feeling in the moment. So are you anxious? Are you excited? Are you angry? A lot of times for me, when I need to do the daily examine, it's usually anxious because I'm just so feeling the chaos, right? What are you feeling? Are you feeling relaxed? And whatever that feeling is, whatever that emotion, I want you to name it and give it to the Lord. Step 4 is to pray. So in the examen, you want to pick one thing rising to the top of your heart. So it might be a joy, it might be a sorrow, but I want you to think of that one thing, and when you pray, I want you to just give it to the Lord completely. And then step 5 is to hope. So now that we have calmed ourselves, we've breathed, we've given thanks, we've reflected, we've prayed, we look forward in hope. And so you can pray this prayer to yourself, and you can pray it with me now. Lord, I hope in you. I trust in you. Let me walk with you through the hours ahead. Let your kingdom come. Let your will be done. Amen. Did we do it? I forgot to time myself. I think that was 3. See? Super easy. Now, I did remember as we were going through this, I was going to print out more. There's actually the daily examine practice on a little sheet out in the foyer by the check-in desk. If you found that helpful, which I think a lot of you did because it feels very peaceful in here to me now, and maybe it's just me, but I feel like maybe there's a little more peace going on. If you found that helpful, we have little brochures that you can take. They're out in the foyer. If you forget, email me, charity@newgroundchurch.org, and I will email you this practice. This is something that can be done. You can spend as little or as long amount of time you want to on this. If you have 2 minutes to run to the bathroom because your kids are driving you insane and you need 2 minutes, go to the bathroom, do this. You will feel better. I can't promise, I can't guarantee it, but usually for me, I get through the breathing, I get through the giving thanks, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, Lord, like I'm really blowing this out of proportion. So, okay, I really slipped away from my notes. Okay. So it's just a moment, right? When we get in those times where it feels like chaos, and then we can take a step back and we can do something. It doesn't have to be the daily examine, but we just take a minute and we just are mindful of our breathing and or give thanks to God. I'm going to totally throw you under the bus, babe. I'm sorry. Ryan was having kind of a rough day yesterday morning. I was like, you need to just give thanks for 5 things. What are you thankful for? Just list 5 things right now that you're thankful for. And I could kind of he was kind of struggling with it, but I could kind of see once he got to the 5th one, he kind of felt like, yeah, this is, it's just a moment, right? These are just these moments, and it doesn't define our day, and it's not going to stay like that forever, right? Renewing our minds, changing the way we think, fixing our eyes on Jesus. It requires intentionality. It requires mindfulness. Now, there's a lot to be said about positive thinking. Kids can talk themselves into or out of anything. Our son tells himself all the time that he can't put his shoes on. I can't do it. I can't put my shoes on. And when he's made up his mind that he cannot put his shoes on, he cannot put his shoes on. He can't. And then all of a sudden it's like lightning strikes his cute little brain, and all of a sudden he's like, I can do it. I can put my shoes on. And he puts them on. Like, how? Right? Like, how does that happen? Because he changed the way he was thinking, right? So parents, so this is for you too, dads, okay? If we're constantly telling ourselves, I'm a bad mom, I'm a bad dad, we start to believe that, right? We start to get that ingrained in us that, oh, everything we do is bad. I am here to tell you today, you are a good mom and you are a good dad. Hear me when I say that, okay? What's the point? Right? We keep asking ourselves, what's the point? We're teaching ourselves each day is a good day. Chaos creeps in and bad things happen, but they're moments. And it doesn't define the day. It doesn't define who we are. And there's always a different perspective. You may have seen on Facebook all these different like Mother's Day videos, and oh, they're so sweet, and Mother's Day videos hit different now that I'm officially a mom, and now I'm like, oh, it's just so wonderful. Like it just like really gives me all the feels now, whereas before I'd be like, I love my mom. I'm like, but that I couldn't make that connection with the video, right? So I saw this video on Facebook, and it's of this husband that comes home from work, and he asks his wife, "How was your day?" And she thought about it, and these kind of so there obviously it's a video, so I'm describing it to you, so it will never look the same. But all these different pictures kind of flashed through her head, right? So the first one, she had gotten up with her daughter because her daughter was having a bad dream, and the next one, she was cleaning up toys in the living room and trying to it looked like she was kind of trying to break up a fight between the two sisters, and the young daughter that had the bad dream was one of the girls, and then she had a littler sister. And then you see the mom, and you see the little daughter carrying a cake, and the cake goes right onto the floor, and the mom's like, ooh. And she says to her husband, it was hard. It was a hard day. So he goes to his daughter, the younger daughter that had the bad dream, and he says, well, how was your day? She's like, it was great. It was the best day ever. And so as she's saying each of these things, the video is showing these. So a different perspective. So she says, I got snuggles with mom. And they show the mom snuggling with her in a completely different perspective than they had showed it before, right? And she's like, and I got to play with my sister, and they showed them all playing together, and they were having a good time. And then she's like, and we ate cake off the floor. Like she wasn't focused on that she had dropped the cake. She just was excited that she got to eat cake off the floor, right? To her, it was the best day ever. And to the mom, she was so stressed out, and it was such a hard day. And there were those two perspectives. And it just really touched my heart, and it made me kind of wonder, like, when I have a hard day, what are my kids thinking? Are they thinking, I love my mom so much. I had the best day ever. And I have to choose to believe that that's what they're thinking, right? They're thinking, this was such a good day. Like Thursday, I had both of the kids here, and they were running around like chaos, and they were having the best time. And I was trying to get my work done, and they kept coming in and coming out and coming in and coming out. And to them, it was the best day ever. They had a blast. And to me, I got home, and I think, was that the night I ate a lot. We had pizza, and there was a lot of pizza that I ate a lot of pizza. Because I was like, it was really hard. And they were like, today was awesome. Like, I'm so glad you had a good day. But it's interesting to see that perspective shift, right? You may be the mom or dad asking at this point, what's the point? Well, the point is, it's not about you. It's about the connections we make. God created us for connection. And I want you to think back on those times. We have a section back here, and we'll talk more about this in upcoming announcements. But we actually have a section back here that has some cushions. And a lot of times you'll see, especially in the summer, moms back there with their kids. And I think I've seen other moms back there, and they're just trying to keep their kids quiet, right? They're like, we don't want to be disruptive. We don't want to, just do your thing, and we'll just be back here coloring or whatever, trying to be quiet. But God created us for connection. So if you've ever been back here in these seats, was someone else back there with their kids too, right? Did you make that connection? Did you feel maybe like you weren't alone, like you weren't the only mom on earth that was struggling? I want you to think about that. Did you know, and I know I'm going to miss one, we have moms here in all stages of motherhood. Okay, ready? Made a list. Brand new moms, moms that have adopted kids, moms who have fostered kids, mom who fostered, then adopted, moms who have had child losses, moms with parental losses, moms with multiple kids, moms with multiple young kids, moms with teenagers, moms with young adults, moms with adult kids, moms with kids who have kids, right? So I may have missed a couple types of moms, but we have a lot of different kinds of moms here. And I am a huge believer that moms need mom friends. Mom friends are so important. So, if I could be so bold as to issue a challenge to you, New Ground, and I challenge you to look for ways to make connections. Be intentional. As moms, we have a lot to offer moms. This is going to sound like I watch Facebook a lot, and maybe I do. But there's this video and it's just this funny video where it's a veteran mom and a new mom. Has anybody seen that video? Where she's like, oh, honey, do you need a drink? The new mom's asking her kid if she needs a drink, right? Oh, honey, are you thirsty? Do you need a drink? I'll go get some water for you. And the veteran mom grabs a hose, sprays it, and says, here, you thirsty, drink this. Right? Veteran moms, new moms. Moms need mom friends, right? Whatever stage of motherhood you're in right now, I really encourage you. And dads, we'll get you in on this too. Dads need dad friends. Okay, I don't think that's a secret, but I just want to say it. Dads need dad friends, right? Because sometimes with dads, my poor husband works all day, and then there's a lot of times where I'll be like, great, see ya. And he's like, oh, okay. And then I get home 2 hours later, and he's like, they went insane. Dads need dad friends so that they have that bonding, right? Guys like to work on stuff and do guy stuff and talk about guy stuff. They're not like us, like, oh, my kid did the cutest thing the other day. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's stereotypical, so please forgive me if it is. But I think it's important for moms to have mom friends and for dads to have dad friends. And even if it's that church friend, right? I was so excited. I was telling my mom the other day, I'm like, I made a mom friend at Lexi's school. I'm just so happy because I didn't have one. And every time I'd go, it just felt so lonely, right? We are not called to be lonely. We are called and created to create connections with one another. So that is my challenge to you, is to make connections, to be intentional, even if it's your Sunday morning bestie, right? It's your mom that you're like, how did your week go? What crazy thing did your kid do? I'll tell you about mine, you know? I encourage you to do that. Now, maybe you're not a mom, okay? And you have no desire to be a mom, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay, because kids need other ladies in their lives. Kids need to have other women in their lives that they can trust. So maybe you're in that boat where you're like, I don't really want kids. I encourage mothers to reach out to those people that you know don't have kids and just bring them alongside and say, hey, do you want to go grab coffee with my crazy kids? Like, would you like to just hang out with me and we can just, see what kind of trouble our kids can get into? We went to a birthday party last week down at Stomping Grounds Cafe. Was that what it was? And I think you can make a reservation there and they serve coffee and your kids can just go play. So, shameless plug for Stomping Ground Cafe. But I thought it was very cool and it was very nice to just be able to kind of sit around and let the kids play. So, just different ways that you can make connections, right? Anyway, maybe you're not a mom because, like me, you struggled getting pregnant or you're struggling getting pregnant. And that's something that's been maybe keeping you from making those connections because it's hard to have. And I got through this whole thing. It's hard to have the desire to want a baby and not be able to have a baby, to hang out with people who have kids because they have something that you desire, right? And it's very hard sometimes to make that connection. But I encourage you, and I want to tell you, thanks, babe. I want to tell you that you're not alone. A lot of people struggle to get pregnant. And there are other ways that you can have children. And maybe you can't afford to foster, and maybe you can't afford to adopt. But you can be that awesome aunt that makes that connection with somebody at church, and you kind of adopt their kids, kind of like Joseph adopted Jesus, right? No paperwork involved, no money involved. It's all free, but you get to kind of live vicariously. And the nice thing about that is you go home and you don't have to potty train, right? I covered up my mic. You don't have to potty train, right? So there's a bonus there. But it can be a very lonely struggle if that's you, right? If that's something you're going through where you can't get pregnant, or maybe you've had a baby and you're trying to get pregnant again. There's all sorts of moms here at New Ground. So remember Friday, I had mentioned that I was going to change what I was going to talk about today. So I did. So I wrote this all yesterday, and it was completely God-breathed because I don't know how Pastor Mike does it, but I would imagine he probably needs a little more time than just Saturday to do all the stuff and things. Now, he has more biblical references than I do, but I thought, thank you, Lord, for giving me that message. And thank you for allowing me the time to go through that message several times so I could share that with you.
Hey, thanks for watching the podcast. If you want to connect with us, click one of the links in the description there to get to our page, where there's all sorts of ways that you can find out more information about our church community, what we're doing, and how you can get involved with that. Hope you continue to stay. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share this with your friends if you think it's meaningful. And hope you have a wonderful week. Grace and peace, friends.